hate monger Chaya Raichik behind the account Libs of TikTok spoke to the aforementioned Elijah Schaffer of Blaze TV, formerly. Elijah Schaffer, we thought at first he was fired for being too racist, but that was a little bit too optimistic. He was fired because of sexual
some
harassment.
legal issues going on with sexual
allegations.
Yeah, not looking good.
But Chaya Raichik, no problem talking to him. You know, I mean, her decision to show her face. Well, it was kind of, I mean, Matt Binder, like, was that how it happened, or did she end up getting discovered because she was at January 6th and then her face was out there, so she decided, what the hell? That's what happened, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think, I don't recall exactly the timeline, but people were finding out more about her and her details and who exactly she was. And then she, you know, some time went by, maybe a couple months, and then she decided to do some I think it was an interview with Tucker Carlson, actually, is when she unveiled what she looked like. And then shortly after, people found her out at, you know, her visually out at January 6th, like there in the flesh. I don't know if they had that beforehand and that's what pushed her to show herself, or if she just thought that her information was out there anyway. Enough time had died down that people weren't like actively looking for her anymore. So might as well just get ahead of it and just start making money on the right-wing talker circuit, because right after she got booked for like CPAC and all the shows, she was like doing the whole shebang.
Well, she's aggressively uncharismatic. I mean, this is not her calling, but the hatefulness certainly is.
Also, very funny that I don't know if you guys noticed this. I think the first person who I saw mention it and make it's completely accurate was Alejandra Calabero. She pointed out that Libs of TikTok hadn't tweeted it for like a week or something, and then Seth Dillon, the owner of the Babylon Bee, tweeted out this super passive-aggressive thing publicly, like, oh, I can't be the only person who noticed that Libs of TikTok hasn't tweeted in a while. I spoke to Chaya and she said everything was okay. We all know this is not normal for her. I hope she's doing all right. And for those of you who don't know, Seth Dillon owns like her LLC, the Libs of TikTok LLC. Like he's the one who monetized it for her. And like he's making money off of her Libs of TikTok career. So clearly he was upset she wasn't tweeting while
Chop.
Yeah, not enough output. I mean,
Sell some merch.
Most
your
editors would just...
LGBTQ harassment quotas this quarter way down.
Yes, we have not had
those numbers.
Not enough threats against LGBTQ teachers across the country. Let's go. Let's keep doxing people. But here she is speaking again to Elijah Schaffer, and she's delusional. She thinks that the term stochastic terrorist was invented to describe her, and she thinks that's a good thing.
And she's, like I said, this is a lunatic.
I'm sad because I thought they made up the stochastic terrorism term, like for me, like
no, they did. They did make it up for you. They did make it up for you. No, they did. I'm giving you the credit. I'm saying they accused me of that, but they didn't make up the word then. They made up the word for you. You are the stochastic terrorist.
They weren't using that term back then.
No, Dora, you woke them up to their full regard. Let me clarify. But they were accusing me of that, but they didn't have a word for it yet. But that's what they accused me of. It was like intellectually inspiring violence. And then you, being a crazy Nazi Jew, allegedly, you're posting recordings of their actual conversations and their own videos gave them the genius phrase to now make a verbal version of violence. Yeah, but I give you the credit. You're inspiring new forms of right-wing hatred. Congratulations.
Can we get confetti again? Okay, thank you. Yeah, they literally made that up for like me, Tucker, and Matt Walsh, and Chris Rufo. Like they made up the term stochastic terrorist for us. So honestly, like, that makes me feel really important. So thank you.
I mean, this is sorry, but this is all bullshit because it's not. Like the term's been around far longer than I knew who. And I mean, I guess I know who Tucker was, but it wasn't made for those people. Like it was actually about the war in Iraq and how, like, for instance, why George Bush, to the extent that we can credit him with not turning that into a religious holy war. You don't want to emphasize like the the religion stuff, because then you lead to you keep turning up the temperature on that stuff, and it creates a certain amount of people who are going to say, I'm going to take matters into my own hand.
The first time I remember hearing this term was in reference to Bill O'Reilly with Tiller the baby killer.
Oh, yes, yep.
Bill O'Reilly's hate speech, essentially, and targeting of this abortion provider ended up in his assassination.
Yeah.
That was the first time I remember the term stochastic terrorism. And like, the idea that this woman has been able to catapult herself to some level of fame by essentially just posting random people across the country, gay people, trans people, queer people, lesbians, whoever, and putting their information that they probably just have posted in their little social circle or edited drag brunches out there, and just opening people up to hatred and violence, potential violence. And now she's just like, oh my God. Like, I mean, it literally, it reminds me of the worst conversations I'd had during like sorority rush. Like, they just invented it about me. I invented this, and that's why you need to join Alpha Phi. And like, I mean, that all this is she's just an actual dumbass who tripped into this because she has so much repressed hatred towards herself and other people that now she's enjoying her little moment in the sun. But and glorifying stochastic terrorism, the two of them together, and taking it as a badge of honor. How sick in the head do you have to be? Oh, and last thing too, when he says, oh, you're a Jewish Nazi, ha ha ha. All right, let's do away with that. No one's calling her a Nazi here. Let's just say she is a white supremacist. Also, she's a white supremacist, because that can happen. There are Jewish white supremacists in Israel. Like right now, that's what we're dealing with in terms of the apartheid of the Palestinians. Like that is who she is then. So then there we go. We have that definition out there for you. She's a white supremacist. Sound good?
I mean, ultimately, you know, everything you say is correct. It's just that, like, you know, the most hateful dumbasses are just, you know, rather being a hateful dumbass is just in vogue right now. It's like the hottest thing you can be in the Republican, like, you know, media sphere is pretending like you have no idea about history or how words work or any of those things. They say like Jewish Nazi, like forget the fact that whether she is or not, like those don't exist. Like there weren't not Jewish people who aligned with the Nazi party.
There was a name specifically for them.
Yeah. Act like, it's like when they say like, oh, you know, you like when they have a gay Republican who's incredibly fascistic and they're like, oh, you think he can be a gay Nazi? It's like all you're revealing is that you have no idea about what the hell you're talking about. And you're relying on like this sort of like common sense, and only common because we don't teach history in this country. And they're trying to make it even hard to teach in this country, that like these things just can't be, you know, in the same person. Like they're inherent contradictions in the way that you understand those terms, but you haven't looked into those terms. And so they just can't exist because you don't know about them. It's a very, you know, it's made it hard to engage online for me recently with how much this has become like the method of arguing for like the, you know, most virulent hating, or rather most virulent hate mongers in our society. It's just like, I don't understand anything about the way history or the world or language works, but I should still be platformed as though I'm a genius about these things and, you know, not dismissed. And this,
well, that's,
you know,
but that's the point though, Brandon, right? It's an anti-history project. They want to muddle our history so that it makes it easier for them to implement far right hateful policies. Cause then people don't see it as a continuum or as something we need to constantly beat back. It's just a new brand of this. Stochastic terrorist that was just made up yesterday.
That was made up about me because, you know, I used to love the stochastic book fairs. And so I would always go shopping at them at school.
Those were fun. I mean,
those were fun. You can buy Libs of TikTok book at them now. You know, it's not very good. And so there's a lot left at the end. So, you know, once they throw them into the trash, you can pick them out.
I mean, they do this all the time, right? Like Enrico Tarrio was the head of the Proud Boys. He's not a white man. That is a quite useful construction for far right people to say that you can't be a part of this ideology if you don't have like the skin color that's traditionally associated with what's going to be or have the identity of somebody. I mean, Milo Yiannopoulos is another example of somebody who would be disenfranchised by and like potentially really, really hurt or killed by the ideology we're espousing. So they usually prop that up because it's a really great way to deflect from what they're actually trying to do.
I just wanted to put this up here also just in terms of the context of what we've been talking about.
Oh, this got me.
In the sense that this is something that Ben Shapiro has been on for a few years, which is that, like, this is one of those things where you absolutely can say that a person of their own ethnicity or own religious group is actively antagonizing somebody in a way that they wouldn't want to be considered, anti-Semitic. But if you're basically ascribing a purity test to how Jewish a guy like Bernie Sanders is because he stands in solidarity with Palestinians, that's anti-Semitic.
Yeah, here we go.
Any way you slice it.
Thank you, Ben Shapiro, who's consistently saying Bernie Sanders is not a real Jew because he can make that determination, right? That's how he can.
Right, because he practices and because he's Orthodox, that means the secular Jews don't exist. Secular Jews are actively harmful to Judaism. That's a lot of his implication whether he's talking about Bernie or just secular Jewish people in general.
People who don't think that Palestinians just want to blow shit up, as he spoke about them, and actually deserve dignity and shouldn't be just in an open air prison getting bombed for hours, killing children. She stands with them. Bernie stands with her because Kevin McCarthy stopped her from recognizing the Palestinian displacement, the Nakba, yesterday. That means he's not a real Jew. Sorry, Brandon.
Well, I was going to say, and he's much more dangerous than the vocal anti-Semites who Ben Shapiro platforms, like Candace Owens.
Yeah. Who was defending Kanye West.
Hitler. She defends
Yeah, I mean...
Republicans will, in the same sentence, start with like Hitler had some good ideas, but the left are the real fascists.
She said that it was because the problem with Nazism was because he wanted to expand in Europe and was not localized to Germany and Austria, essentially, which is psychotic. No, it was the genocide that was the problem. Yeah. Chaya Raichik is a very hateful and sad person.
I mean, it's the slow ebb away in our society of just like basic knowledge about our country, its history, bad and good is just so sad to see. They don't want your kids reading books. They want to remove all the books from schools. They want to remove all the books from colleges, and they want to have Charles Murray and Milo Yiannopoulos and Ben Shapiro come onto college campuses and like challenge children and at their cusp of adulthood to debates that they feel like they can win against, again, children who are on the cusp of adulthood. And then they want to, in all of our mainstream publications, platform people like, no offense, like Connor Friedersdorf, who doesn't know anything. And they want to keep people as dumb and ignorant about the basic facts of history as possible.
Professional morons, absolutely.
Either liars or morons. They just have them in every step of the way to keep people as dumb as possible. And then on the left, you're forced to like reintroduce people to basic facts, and they look at you like, what? The Moors were in charge of Spain? What? And you're like, yeah, like that's just what happened. It's not even
it's
there is no
like
debate
Atlantis.
about this.
Yeah.
they act like why, what? You see, like some you hear on Joe Rogan. It's like that's just like in a history book. But I forgot about the Elijah Schaffer's exit from the Blaze and how it was brought to our attention by one Christian Walker. If you remember this series of tweets here, where Christian said, let me see here.
I recommend you not come for me, or I'll have to tell your wife how you had sex with my friend at the Turning Points event in 2021 while you were married to her. I don't like cheaters. This loser was fired from his job for sexual assault and then also had banged my friend 4 times in one night at a conservative conference while he was married and she didn't know. Get your family life together before you speak on mine, adulterer.
Got him.
Damn, I forgot about that.
Yeah, honestly, conservatives have a problem within their own ranks. There are not that many of them, but with just the idea of like, actual conservatives with mild principles, like the base of the Republican Party. And it's like, now it's many of its politicians like MTG. It's like, a lot of Republicans are just cultural Republicans. They don't want to be thinking about anything other than the cultural, times under which, they're currently living, like the sports, the trucks, that kind of stuff, and pulling them into a lot of these like very, very esoteric online feuds, but then also like having them be also incredibly hateful is, I think it's ultimately turning people off, but it doesn't matter because they've gerrymandered so much of this country that like simply being unpopular is not enough to lose elections. You have to be like unpopular and someone else has to be more popular in your district, and that more popular person has to have good politics, and in deep red districts that's just not likely to happen.